Unlock your inner power, embrace fearless living, and achieve success on your own terms. Introduction. The world belongs to those who dare. Confidence is not some decorative trait reserved for the charismatic few. It is not the byproduct of privilege, genetics, or luck. It is power, raw, unfiltered, and necessary. And like all forms of power, it can be taken, trained, and owned. You don't rise in this world by playing it safe. You rise by claiming space, speaking with precision, and moving with the conviction that your presence matters. The truth most people avoid is this: the world doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It rewards decisiveness. It gravitates toward energy. It follows those who seem to already know where they're going. But here's the secret. The people who seem certain, they weren't born with that fire. They built it, quietly, daily, with sweat, failure, self-confrontation, and ruthless clarity. Confidence, at its core, is not a feeling. It is a decision, a commitment, a strategy. Right now you're at the threshold of two paths. One, where you continue second-guessing, shrinking, overthinking. The other, where you take control, not just of how you move, but how you think, speak, and show up. This audiobook is not just another motivational script. It is a tool, a weapon. You'll be handed the frameworks, the psychology, the hard-won truths about human nature that few dare to admit. We'll dismantle the illusions you've been sold, the belief that confidence is external, that it's built on applause or validation. No, confidence is an internal empire, and you are its sole architect. We will navigate the battlefield of your mind, rewire your response to fear, train your voice, master your presence, and most importantly, align your daily actions with the kind of life only the confident get to live. Because, here's the reality, the world will not wait, and neither should you. This is your evolution. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Confidence. There is a dangerous myth that has embedded itself into our culture that confidence is a natural trait. You either have it or you don't. That it is gifted at birth to the charismatic, the beautiful, the lucky. This myth, repeated often enough, becomes internalized. You begin to see yourself as lacking something fundamental. You compare. You hesitate. You wait for permission to feel worthy, unaware that the permission you seek will never come. This is the illusion of confidence, a mask, a performance. Society reveres confidence, but it sells insecurity. From advertising to social media, every corner of modern life subtly reminds you you are not enough. Confidence, they imply, is the possession of others, those on screens, stages, or pedestals. But if you pull back the curtain, you'll see the truth. What we call confidence is often nothing more than practiced boldness, strategic speech, and the refusal to apologize for existing. Think of the people who appear magnetic in a room. They're not necessarily smarter or better. What they've done is master an internal dialogue, a script that says, "I belong here." Even when doubt creeps in, they lean into motion, not hesitation. They've learned the most powerful rule of all: the world reflects what you project. People believe you are confident when you behave like you are. And once they believe, you begin to believe it too. This cycle, action breeding belief, belief reinforcing action, is where true confidence is born. Not in the silence of waiting, but in the noise of movement. Every bold decision you make chips away at the illusion. Every risk you take, every time you speak when it would be easier to stay silent, every time you walk forward when fear says stay back, you build proof. And confidence is nothing if not a collection of personal proof. The illusion will try to seduce you. It will say you need more time, more preparation, more validation. Ignore it. Confidence is not a destination. It is forged in the moment you decide to show up fully, even when it feels unnatural. This chapter and this book isn't about pretending you don't feel fear. It's about learning to move anyway, to act before you feel ready, because the illusion only survives in inaction. And the moment you stop waiting to feel confident is the moment you start becoming it. Confidence, in its most deceptive form, is mistaken for volume, for loudness, for those who dominate conversations, who appear certain even when they speak in ignorance. These performances of power are seductive. They create the illusion of certainty. But strip away the noise, and you'll often find insecurity hiding beneath the surface, overcompensating for a foundation that was never truly built. This is how many fall into the trap. They chase the appearance of confidence instead of its essence. They rehearse charm, posture, language, but without confronting the core. The truth is this: confidence that is not rooted in something deeper will always collapse under pressure. It is a house of cards, flashy, fragile, and ultimately hollow. To escape the illusion, you must go deeper. Confidence is not an act. It's a relationship between you and yourself. It's forged in the quiet choices you make when no one is watching. It is how you speak to yourself after you fail, how you carry yourself when no one applauds. It is what remains when the stage is gone, the audience is silent, and the spotlight fades. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to shout, because it knows it's not the loudest voice in the room. It's the one that doesn't flinch when challenged. It's the one that can admit uncertainty without collapsing. That can say, "I don't know," and not feel diminished. Because true confidence isn't about being right. It's about being secure enough not to need to be. This realization is liberating, because it means confidence is not a performance you have to maintain. It's a state of inner alignment you can return to, again and again, no matter what happens outside of you. The path forward, then, is not to look more confident. It is to become more honest with yourself, about your fears, about your insecurities, about the masks you've worn. Because once you strip them away, what's left, your raw, real self, is stronger than any illusion you could fabricate. And that is where the shift begins. Not in pretending to be powerful, but in realizing you already are, once you stop running from who you truly are. If you want to transcend the illusion of confidence, you must dismantle the lies that surround it, not just in the world but in your own thinking. Somewhere along the way, you learned that confidence must be deserved, earned, justified by achievement, perfection, or external approval. That belief is poison. It creates a loop that's impossible to win. You must feel confident to act, but you must act to feel confident, so you wait. You hesitate. And in that space, confidence withers. The truth is, confidence isn't a reward for action. It's a prerequisite. You don't wait for evidence before you move. You move to create the evidence. Every bold action, every decisive moment, every time you stand firm in discomfort, becomes a deposit in the bank of your own belief. That belief, once consistent, becomes identity. And identity is power. Understand this: confidence is not the absence of fear, it is the mastery of your response to it. Every person you admire, every leader, artist or innovator you think has it, has felt fear. Many still do. The difference is, they do not bow to it. They act anyway. Confidence is not found in comfort, it is extracted from discomfort. It is the result of showing up when it's hard, when it's uncertain, when no one claps. You will never feel fully ready. And you don't need to. That's the breakthrough. Readiness is a myth sold by perfectionism. The real test is not whether you know you can succeed. The test is, can you move forward even when you're unsure? Can you trust your growth process more than your doubts? Can you commit to the path, not just the outcome? Because in the end, confidence is not about assurance. It is about acceptance, accepting that you will stumble, that not everyone will applaud, that fear may still whisper. But none of that matters if you refuse to yield. Let go of the illusion. Stop waiting for permission. You do not need to be chosen to choose yourself. You do not need to be validated to validate your path. You do not need to become perfect to be powerful. You simply need to begin. Chapter 2. The Battlefield of Belief. The greatest war you'll ever fight won't be with the world, it will be with your own mind. Before a single word is spoken, before a single move is made, your thoughts are already deciding your future. And most people, they lose the battle long before the world ever has a chance to defeat them. The battlefield of belief is subtle. It doesn't announce itself with chaos. It whispers in doubts, in hesitation, in the soft poison of what if I'm not enough. Your mind, if left untrained, becomes a master of sabotage. It will rationalize your fears, justify your silence, and disguise comfort as safety. This is not accidental. It is the result of years, decades of programming. Beliefs inherited, absorbed, reinforced, quiet lies repeated until they calcify into truth. You were not born thinking small. You were taught to shrink. You learned from rejection and failure, from the critical voices around you, that it was safer to expect less. You absorbed the belief that humility meant hiding, that modesty meant silence, that fear meant stop. But your mind is not your enemy. It's your most powerful weapon. The problem is not the existence of fear or doubt. The problem is you believe them. You accept them as final. You hear the voice that says you're not ready, and you stop. But what if you didn't? What if that voice wasn't truth, but just noise? What if your real power begins the moment you start questioning that voice? You cannot become confident while allowing your beliefs to remain unchecked. Every belief you hold about yourself, your worth, your ability, must be interrogated. You must become ruthless with your inner world. Identify what strengthens you, destroy what weakens you. Rewire your patterns through intention, repetition, and conscious disruption. Because here's the truth. Your external world will never rise above the internal world you tolerate. If your mind is a battlefield, you must become its commander, not passive, not waiting, but strategic, aggressive, clear. Train your thoughts like a soldier, trains reflexes, unlearn what no longer serves you, sharpen what gives you power. Confidence begins not with action, but with the thoughts that allow action to occur. Master those, and nothing outside of you will ever control you again. Every belief you hold was once a thought, nothing more, a passing sentence, a suggestion, but repeated often enough, emotionally charged enough, that thought carved a groove into your mind. That groove became a path, and the more you traveled it, the more automatic it became. This is how beliefs are built, not through truth, but through repetition. Here's what no one teaches you. Just because you believe something doesn't make it real. You may believe you're not good enough, that you'll fail, that you'll never speak with impact or stand with presence. But those are not facts. They are habits, mental loops, and habits can be broken. Your brain is plastic, changeable. This is not a metaphor, it is science. Neuroplasticity is your built-in superpower. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs can be reshaped. But the first step is awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to observe, so start listening. Track your internal dialogue, not passively, analytically. Notice the patterns, the triggers, the tone. Who's really talking when your mind says you can't? Often, it's not your voice. It's the voice of a parent, a teacher, a moment from childhood that echoed louder than it should have. It's a single event that became a narrative, a story you didn't write, but kept retelling. The moment you realize that voice isn't yours is the moment you regain authority over your own mind. But awareness alone isn't enough. You must rewire, interrupt the narrative with truth. Every time you hear "I can't," respond with "watch me." Every time fear says, "This isn't you," affirm, "This is who I'm becoming." Your mind is a mirror. Reflect weakness, and it will multiply it. Project strength, and it will begin to align. This is mental discipline. It's not easy. It's not instant. But it's everything. Because the thoughts you tolerate become the identity you wear, and the identity you wear determines how you walk into the world. If you want the world to treat you like someone who matters, you have to start thinking like someone who does. Not occasionally, not when you're motivated, but daily, with intention, with rigor, with the seriousness of someone who understands. The mind is not just where confidence begins, it's where it is won. The world outside you responds to the signals you send, and the signal starts in the mind. If your thoughts are scattered, self-defeating, hesitant, that frequency radiates through your posture, your decisions, your energy. People read it before you speak. They feel it in how you carry yourself. This is not mysticism. This is behavioral psychology. Every human interaction is a negotiation, not just of information, but of power, presence, and perceived worth. And make no mistake, you're broadcasting your inner world whether you realize it or not. Confidence isn't loudness, it's alignment. It's when your beliefs, emotions, and actions all point in the same direction. That congruence is rare, and people feel it. So the real question is this: what message are you transmitting? Not with your words, but with your energy. Are you signaling fear, uncertainty, apology? Or are you signaling authority, clarity, and self-respect? Reprogramming your mind is not a one-time task. It's a daily ritual, as critical as anything you do externally. You train it like a fighter trains the body. You don't wait for the fight to get ready. You get ready so you're always prepared. Start small. Begin with language. Eliminate passive phrasing. Replace hesitation with precision. Stop saying "I think," "maybe," "I'm not sure." These are not just words. They are rehearsals of doubt. Speak with the tone of someone who believes what they say. Not because they're always right, but because they take themselves seriously. And the world learns how to treat you by watching how you treat yourself. Feed your mind like you'd feed your ambition. Guard your inputs. What you read, watch, and surround yourself with, these are not neutral. They're sculpting your reality. Consume what strengthens you. Engage with ideas that challenge you. Reject mental junk food. Because confidence isn't about ego, it's about sovereignty. And sovereignty starts with choosing what enters your mental domain. This is your mind, your domain, your battlefield. And from this moment forward, you don't fight on your knees, you lead. Chapter 3. From Fear to Power. Fear is not your enemy, it is your compass. Most people misunderstand fear. They treat it like a red light, a signal to stop, to retreat, to delay. But fear in its rawest form is a signal of value. You don't feel fear about things that don't matter. You feel it when something is at stake, when there's growth on the other side, when your comfort zone is being threatened, and with it, your current identity. This is why fear must be studied, not silenced. It holds data. It tells you where the edge is, and more importantly, it tells you where power lives. Because the presence of fear doesn't mean you should turn back. Often, it means you're exactly where you need to be. What separates the confident from the hesitant is not the absence of fear, it's the way they interpret it. The untrained mind hears fear and stops. The trained mind hears fear and leans in, not recklessly, but deliberately, because they know on the other side of that fear is the version of themselves they haven't yet accessed. The world conditions you to avoid fear, to build a life around safety, security, predictability, but everything meaningful, every breakthrough, every bold decision, every reinvention lives in the unknown. Fear is the toll you pay to walk that road, and if you wait to be fearless before you act, you'll wait forever. Here's the truth: you cannot eliminate fear, but you can train your nervous system to move through it. You can rewire your relationship to discomfort so that the very sensation of fear becomes a trigger, not for retreat, but for action. This is how you turn fear into fuel, into momentum, into a sharpened edge that keeps you alert, focused, alive. Because fear isn't a barrier, it's a threshold. And the moment you stop interpreting fear as danger and start recognizing it as direction, that's the moment you stop running from power and start walking toward it. Your reaction to fear is not fixed, it is conditioned. And what has been conditioned can be reconditioned. Most people experience fear as a full stop, a flood of sensations that paralyze the body and cloud the mind. Their heart races, their breathing shortens, their thoughts spiral. They interpret these symptoms as signals to retreat. But what if you trained yourself to read those sensations differently? What if fear didn't mean stop, but go? Physiologically, fear and excitement are almost identical. The only difference is the story you attach to the sensation. A racing heart can mean danger, or it can mean readiness. The same chemicals, the same signals, interpreted two different ways. This is not just theory, it's the foundation of performance psychology. Elite athletes, high-stakes negotiators, special forces, they all feel fear, but they've trained themselves to use it. You can do the same. It begins with awareness. When fear shows up, don't suppress it. Observe it, name it. Say, "This is fear." Then pause. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? What outcome am I attached to? What version of myself is being threatened? These questions cut through the fog. They shift your mind from panic to presence. Then comes the pivot. You take that fear, that energy, and you convert it into action, into clarity, into a decision. You do not wait for confidence to appear. You create it by moving. This is how power is built, not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of it, when you act anyway. The moment you move toward what you fear, you reclaim your power. You show your nervous system that fear is not fatal. You begin teaching your body a new story. I can survive this. I can speak here. I can stand there. I can take that risk. Every time you override fear with action, you reinforce a new identity. And that identity is built on evidence, not theory. Confidence becomes a lived experience, not a wish. And fear becomes less of a wall, more of a teacher. This shift changes everything. You stop viewing fear as a signal to back away and begin using it as a compass to lead you forward. Fear will never vanish. It evolves with you. What used to terrify you becomes routine. But once you level up, fear finds new forms, new stakes, new exposures, new doubts. That's the cost of growth. You don't outgrow fear. You upgrade your response. The person you are becoming, they still feel fear, but they meet it with a new posture, one of stillness, control and decision. Because when fear is no longer the enemy, it becomes a tool, a signal that you're playing in unfamiliar territory. That's exactly where transformation happens. Consider this: every meaningful leap you've ever made, every time you stepped up, spoke out, broke through, fear was there. And you did it anyway. That moment of courage, it rewrote something inside you. That's what real confidence is made of. Not the moments when it was easy, but the moments when it wasn't, and you moved anyway. Fear loses power the moment it's met with intentional action. This is the art of exposure. The more you walk into fear, the more you redefine what you believe you can handle. You stretch your limits, and over time, you discover that what once paralyzed you is now beneath you. But you must commit. Not once, not when it's convenient, but repeatedly, because fear will test you. It will disguise itself as logic, as timing, as responsibility. It will present compelling reasons to wait. And every time you believe it, you reinforce your own cage. Refuse to shrink. Fear will never stop knocking, but you can decide who answers the door. Let it find someone different than before. Someone who has trained. Someone who has decided. Someone who understands that fear is not weakness. It is fuel. Every day you have a choice to remain loyal to your fear or to become loyal to your potential. One keeps you comfortable. The other keeps you powerful. And when you choose power, fear may still walk with you, but it no longer leads. Chapter 4. The Confidence Formula. Confidence is not magic. It's not mystique. And it's not a mystery. It's a formula, a set of ingredients you control, refined through action and reinforced by experience. Most people never discover this because they assume confidence must arrive spontaneously. They wait for it to land like lightning, a burst of inspiration or a moment of invincibility. But that moment rarely comes, so they stay stuck, thinking they're missing something special. Here's the truth. You're not missing anything. What you need isn't a feeling, it's a framework. Confidence is built through a system of three primary forces: competence, consistency, and self-respect. Together, these form the foundation of true, sustainable confidence. Let's start with the first: competence. Competence means skill. It means you've done the work, you've trained, you've shown up. Not perfectly, but persistently. Confidence cannot thrive where you feel incompetent. When you don't know what you're doing, hesitation is natural. The solution isn't to fake it, it's to prepare, to learn, to improve. When you respect your craft, you begin to trust yourself, and trust breeds boldness. Next, consistency. Confidence doesn't come from what you do once, it comes from what you repeat. If you only act when you feel brave, your confidence will always be unstable. But if you act every day, even when uncertain, even when afraid, your mind starts to register a new baseline. You become someone who moves forward regardless of mood. That's power. Finally, self-respect. The most overlooked ingredient. You can be competent and consistent, but if you don't value yourself, your confidence will always have a ceiling. Self-respect is how you speak to yourself when you fail. It's the standard you uphold in how you're treated, the boundaries you enforce, the risks you believe you're worthy of taking. Confidence grows in the soil of self-regard. These three elements are not optional. They are necessary. They can be cultivated by anyone, not just the naturally extroverted or exceptionally talented. That's the beauty of the formula. It's replicable, it's teachable, and it's yours. Confidence isn't elusive, it's earned, and the equation never lies. Understanding the formula is not enough. You must live it. Competence, consistency, and self-respect are not theoretical ideas. They are practices, habits, lived decisions that you repeat, refine, and reinforce. Every day you get to choose to build your confidence actively or to leave it to chance. Start with competence. Pick a skill, an area of focus, a role you want to own, and begin refining it with ruthless commitment. Read, practice, get feedback, stay in motion. The more you improve, the more confident you'll feel, not because someone tells you you're good, but because you've built undeniable proof. Skill silences doubt. You don't have to fake confidence when your ability speaks for you. Then apply consistency. Show up, especially when it's inconvenient. If you only practice when it's easy, you'll fold when it's not. The power of consistency isn't just in momentum, it's in identity. Every time you show up, you cast a vote for the type of person you are. You stop hoping for confidence and start becoming the kind of person who moves, regardless of fear. Finally, protect your self-respect, like it's currency, because it is. You earn it through your own behavior. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you say no to what drains you, every time you speak up when it would be easier to stay silent, you build self-respect. And self-respect is the quiet force behind the loud energy of confidence. When you fail, and you will, self-respect is what keeps your confidence intact. It tells you, this moment does not define me. It reminds you that mistakes are data, not identity. Without self-respect, you spiral. With it, you rise. These forces, competence, consistency, self-respect, do not operate in isolation. They feed each other. Skill builds belief. Repetition builds trust. Integrity builds identity. You reinforce your confidence through action, then back it with evidence. You don't need motivation to be confident. You need discipline. You need standards. You need clarity. The more structure you build, the less fragile your confidence becomes. It stops depending on moods and starts depending on movement. Confidence is not luck. It's not for the chosen. It's for the committed. Confidence does not come to those who wait. It comes to those who construct it, brick by brick, through their habits, their decisions, their standards. It is not found in mantras or mirrors. It is forged in how you move, how you recover, and how you refuse to negotiate with your potential. This is the great lie of the self-help industry, that confidence is something you can think your way into. But the mind doesn't believe what you tell it. It believes what you show it. You can repeat affirmations all day, but if your actions contradict them, your brain will default to the evidence. And confidence requires evidence. So give it that evidence. Every day. Not once a year. Not when you're in the mood. Every single day. Show yourself what you are. Reinforce it through motion. Train through repetition. Earn your own belief. This is not about perfection. It's about commitment. You don't need to be the best. You just need to become undeniable to yourself. That means showing up when it's hard. That means making decisions aligned with your growth, not your comfort. That means setting a standard for your life and holding to it, even when no one's watching. Because here's the truth. Confidence isn't what people see when you walk into a room. It's what you feel when you're alone with your choices. It's the knowledge that you are living in alignment with who you say you are. It's the calm that comes from knowing you are doing the work consistently, deliberately, honestly. Confidence doesn't mean you always feel great. It means you feel anchored, stable, grounded. You know who you are and who you're becoming, and you are acting accordingly. There is no shortcut, no hack, no external trick. But there is a formula. It's simple, it's powerful, and it works, if you do. So take this truth forward. You are not missing anything. You do not need to wait. You are not broken, behind, or too late. You are ready. Start showing up like it. Chapter 5. Mastering Self-Talk and Inner Language. The most powerful voice in your life is the one you hear but no one else does, your own. Self-talk is the operating system of confidence. It runs silently, constantly, beneath every decision you make, every risk you take, every moment you hesitate or rise. And yet, most people have never been taught to hear it clearly, let alone master it. They live with a voice in their head that is untrained, unchecked, and often deeply unkind. The way you speak to yourself determines the way you show up in the world. If your inner voice is filled with doubt, criticism, sarcasm, or shame, you will move with hesitation. You will shrink, sabotage, and overcorrect. Not because you lack ability, but because your mind is planting resistance before you even begin. But here's the truth: self-talk is not permanent. It is programmable, and once you realize that voice in your head is not you but a script, one that can be edited, upgraded, rewritten, you regain your power. Your inner language is either reinforcing your potential or rewriting it down. Every sentence you say to yourself matters. "I can't" becomes a belief. "This always happens to me" becomes identity. "I'm just not confident" becomes prophecy. You must understand, every thought is a vote for the kind of self you're becoming. To master your self-talk, you must first become conscious of it. Track the patterns. Notice the tone. Is it supportive? Is it demanding? Is it even yours? Or does it echo someone else's voice from years ago? Then interrupt it. Replace judgment with curiosity. Replace self-deprecation with self-command. Speak to yourself like someone worth leading, like someone you respect, not with hollow positivity, but with precision, strength, and direction. Your inner voice should not be your bully. It should be your coach, your strategist, your commander. It should remind you who you are when the world forgets. It should anchor you when fear rises. It should sharpen you, not shatter you. If you want to master confidence, master this voice first, because no matter what anyone else says, you are always listening to yourself. Words shape reality, and the words you use internally are not benign. They are architecture. Every thought you repeat becomes a structural beam in your identity. Over time, your self-talk becomes the lens through which you experience everything. Relationships, opportunity, failure, even yourself. You don't rise above the level of your language. You rise to meet it. That's why confident people don't just speak differently to the world, they speak differently to themselves. They use language that aligns with leadership, not limitation. They speak in commands, not conditions, in direction, not doubt. You must begin doing the same. Start by replacing passivity with precision. "I hope I can" becomes "I'm working to." "Maybe I will" becomes "I am." These are not word games. They are mental recalibrations. Every shift in language is a shift in identity, and identity governs behavior. Stop outsourcing your value to outcomes. Stop tying your worth to whether something works or someone approves. That's how your voice becomes reactive, volatile, insecure. Instead, root your self-talk in process and power. Instead of "I need this to go well," say, "I'm prepared, I'm present, and I will adapt." Instead of "What if I fail?" say, "If I fall, I'll rise sharper." This isn't delusion, it's mental leadership. The goal is not to lie to yourself. The goal is to guide yourself, to take the raw chaos of emotion and refocus it into something useful, clear, and constructive. That's what the confident do. They manage their internal narrative the way a great general manages a battlefield, with clarity, strategy, and discipline. Language also shapes emotion. When you describe something as terrifying, you'll feel fear. But if you reframe the same situation as intense, challenging, or electrifying, your nervous system receives a different signal. This is cognitive linguistics, and it is power. So audit your language. Speak as if your words are commands to your subconscious, because they are. Speak as if you are shaping your future, because you are. You don't have to fake positivity. You have to direct focus. You have to become fluent in the language of power, not pity, of growth, not guilt, of motion, not paralysis. Because confidence is not just how you speak to others, it's how you speak to yourself when everything is on the line. Your inner voice is the first responder to every moment in your life. Before the world reacts, before a result arrives, before anyone else weighs in, your internal dialogue has already begun shaping your experience. If that voice is undisciplined, anxious, or defeated, it will sabotage you before you've even had a chance to act. But here's the shift: you can take control of that voice. You can train it like a muscle, and the more you train it, the more natural power becomes your baseline. Not anxiety, not doubt, not default self-destruction. This training begins with a rule: do not say to yourself what you would not say to someone you lead. Imagine coaching someone you believed in. Would you call them a failure after one mistake? Would you label them unworthy because they struggled? No, you'd recalibrate, refocus, remind them of what they're capable of. Why should your internal standard be any less? High-performance self-talk isn't blind optimism. It's not about telling yourself everything is fine when it's not. It's about equipping yourself to respond to reality from a place of clarity and command. It's shifting from panic to plan, from blame to learning, from spiraling to structure. When a challenge hits, the average mind says, "Why me?" The trained mind says, "Now what?" That is the pivot. That is self-talk as a leadership tool. Not noise, guidance, not loops, leverage. And it's daily. Don't wait for crisis to begin this work. Start now. Start small. Each time you catch a destructive thought, interrupt it. Replace it. Speak with purpose, with calm force, with presence. Over time this becomes your norm. Your default mental language becomes self-leadership, not self-sabotage. And when you stack this mastery, day after day, you become unshakable. Not because life stops testing you, but because your mind stops working against you. From this point forward, your voice is your instrument. Tune it, sharpen it, use it to move you, anchor you, elevate you. Because the way you talk to yourself is not just a reflection of confidence, it is its origin. It is its origin. Chapter 6. Boldness in Action. Confidence without action is illusion. It's noise. It's a script you recite, but never live. Real confidence is kinetic. It lives in motion, in decisions, in the willingness to act before perfection, before permission, before the fear has fully quieted. Boldness is not arrogance. It's not recklessness. It's alignment in motion. It's the choice to move, speak, create, lead, even when uncertainty is present, especially when it is. Because boldness isn't the absence of hesitation, it's the refusal to be controlled by it. You cannot think your way into confidence. You must behave your way into it. Action is the only language your nervous system fully understands. You can journal, visualize, meditate, and all of that has value. But until you act, your mind has no proof that you're serious. Action is the final argument. The proof that your growth matters more than your comfort. The moment you speak up in that room, the moment you take that risk, the moment you step forward when everything in you says wait, those are the moments that redefine you. And this is the power of boldness. It builds momentum. One decision leads to another. One leap makes the next less terrifying. And soon your identity begins to shift from the one who waits to the one who moves. But let's be clear, boldness is a practice. It's not natural. It must be cultivated. At first it will feel unnatural. Your voice may shake, your timing may falter. You'll overthink, over-prepare, over-analyze. That's fine. That's normal. What matters is that you do it anyway, that you override the reflex to retreat, that you build a pattern of movement. Start small but be deliberate. Speak when you'd usually stay silent. Volunteer when you'd usually hold back. Raise your standards in small interactions. Ask for what you want without apology. Take the shot when your brain whispers, "Not now." Every one of those acts, however minor, is a brick in your boldness. You are not born bold. You become bold, and you become bold by choosing action, not just once, but again and again, until it becomes who you are. Boldness isn't about big gestures. It's about relentless permission. The permission you give yourself to move before certainty, to speak before perfect wording, to lead before anyone claps. The world doesn't reward the most qualified. It rewards the most visible, the most consistent, the ones who step forward while others are still planning. That's the truth most people don't want to hear, because it's easier to believe success is about credentials or connections. But often it's about boldness, not once, but repeatedly. So how do you make boldness repeatable? You make it part of your identity, and identity is shaped by standards. Set a standard that says, I don't freeze when it matters. I speak, I act, I risk. Not because it always works out, but because I refuse to be ruled by hesitation. That is the mindset of someone who commands space in the world, not with ego but with presence. And this begins with preparation. Boldness does not mean improvising recklessly. It means preparing deeply, so you can move freely. The more grounded your preparation, the more fluid your action. Confidence without knowledge is fragile, but boldness built on readiness, that's unstoppable. Don't wait for the room to open. Walk in like it's yours. Don't wait for consensus. Lead. Don't wait for fear to disappear. Bring it with you. The more you move with fear, the quieter it becomes. Because boldness is louder, more practiced, more familiar. That's the secret. You make boldness louder than the fear. But remember, boldness isn't about domination. It's about self-permission. It's the belief that you have a right to exist fully, to take up space, to take your shot, to demand more from yourself, from the moment, from your life. And this belief must be fed daily. Boldness is not something you do. It's someone you become. It's in how you walk, how you enter a room, how you speak your ideas, how you refuse to shrink in conversations that matter. Every act of boldness is a vote, a statement, a shift in trajectory. It builds memory. muscle, movement. Over time, boldness stops being something you try and becomes something you are. You don't become bold by thinking about it. You become bold by accumulating moments that prove to yourself, I am not the type who hesitates. That proof stacks. And eventually you stop questioning whether boldness is in you. You know it is, because you've built it. But here's the catch. The world won't always reward your boldness right away. Sometimes it will ignore it. Sometimes it will resist it. And that's when most people retreat. They confuse silence with rejection, discomfort with failure. But boldness isn't about instant validation. It's about long-term positioning. Every time you speak when it's inconvenient, act when it's risky, stand firm when it's unpopular, you are positioning yourself. You're training the world to respond to you differently. You're shifting from background to presence, from tolerated to respected. And respect, real respect, is earned not by being agreeable, but by being undeniable. Boldness doesn't mean you never question yourself. It means you no longer obey that doubt. It means you understand that fear is not a reason, it's just a reflex. And you've learned to breathe through that reflex without letting it dictate your behavior. So how do you build a bold life? You make boldness a standard, not a spike. Not something you do only when inspired, but something you demand from yourself regardless of mood. You make it part of your process, part of your walk, your talk, your choices. You measure yourself not by what's safe, but by what's aligned. You'll lose some comfort. You'll break from familiar circles. You'll disrupt some expectations. Good. That's the cost of elevation. The world bends to those who step into it with intention, not apology. Boldness isn't volume. It isn't aggression. It's certainty in motion. And that certainty becomes magnetic, because most people are still waiting for a green light that only they can give themselves. This is your permission, not to be loud, but to be large, to be present, to stop making yourself smaller so others feel more comfortable, to say what you mean, to ask for more, to walk like someone who belongs, because you do. From this moment on, let your life be a pattern of forward motion. Let your actions say, without hesitation, I do not wait, I move. Chapter 7. The Backbone of Confidence. Confidence without resilience is a costume. It looks powerful, but it shatters under pressure. Real confidence, the kind that lasts, the kind that grows stronger under stress, is built on resilience. Not toughness, not coldness, but the capacity to bend without breaking, to fall and still rise, to absorb impact and keep moving forward with purpose. Resilience is not about never falling, it's about never staying down. You will be tested. Life does not hand out confidence for free. It demands trials, challenges, losses. These aren't obstacles to your growth. They are the growth. Every hit you take is not a sign of weakness. It's a forge, a place where your character is hardened, your identity refined. The confident aren't those who've avoided failure. They're the ones who've trained themselves to respond to it differently. Where others break, they adapt. Where others withdraw, they recalibrate. They've developed a kind of psychological armor, not the kind that blocks pain, but the kind that absorbs it, transforms it, and uses it as leverage. Resilience isn't born in comfort, it's built in discomfort, in the late nights when no one believes in you yet, in the rejections that sting, in the self-doubt that whispers you're not enough. It's in how you respond when you get no applause, when nothing works for weeks, months, even years, when the path forward is murky, but you walk anyway. This is the backbone of confidence, the refusal to be defined by defeat, the decision to keep showing up, not with blind hope, but with earned grit. And this is the turning point, understanding that pain is not the enemy. It's a teacher. It reveals what you value. It shows you what needs strengthening. It strips away illusions and forces you to evolve. The most resilient people aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who've made peace with it, who've turned it into fuel. You want to be confident. Learn to get back up faster. Learn to speak with power even when you're tired. Learn to act before the dust has settled. Learn to keep your standard, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Because confidence is not about what you can do when things go right. It's about who you become when everything goes wrong, and you refuse to disappear. Resilience is a discipline. It is not reserved for the naturally strong. It is earned through choice, through repetition, through refusal to collapse under weight. It is a skill you can build the same way you build strength, by increasing the load and learning to carry it. You don't train resilience in moments of ease. You train it when the pressure spikes, when the outcome slips, when the room is silent and the voice of doubt grows louder. That's where resilience is either born or broken. And here's the truth. Most people aren't lacking opportunity. They're lacking resilience. They start with fire, but when the friction hits, when the world doesn't applaud, when their plan gets punched, they stop. They retreat. They make pain mean something is wrong, when in reality it means you're getting close. Confidence survives where resilience lives. The stronger your resilience, the more pressure you can withstand, and the more pressure you can withstand, the more consistently you can act. This is how the confident separate from the average, not in what they feel, but in what they endure. But resilience isn't about pushing endlessly. It's not burnout disguised as ambition. It's strategic. It's knowing when to pause, but never quit. It's knowing how to pivot, but never shrink. It's the inner agreement that says this is hard, and I do hard things. To build it, you must stop avoiding discomfort. You must stop interpreting struggle as failure. You must start using every challenge as a mirror. What is this trying to teach me? What's the muscle here that needs development? This is not positivity. It's precision. It's training your mind to respond to adversity with awareness and direction, not panic. You also protect resilience by guarding your narrative. When something goes wrong, don't turn it into a story about your worth. Don't tie a temporary result to a permanent identity. Instead, ask what's next. That question is the heartbeat of resilience. It keeps you in motion when everything around you tempts you to freeze. Confidence is not built in a straight line. It's carved out of resistance. And every time you choose to stay standing, to keep moving, to keep trusting, you prove to yourself that you are no longer fragile. You're forged. Every time life hits you, it asks a question: will this stop you, or will this shape you? The resilient answer without hesitation. They don't wait for the storm to pass. They build their shelter mid-downpour. They don't pray for the pressure to lessen. They train until they can handle more. That's what sets them apart. Not fewer obstacles, but greater adaptability. Resilience is a personal code, a standard. It says I don't crumble under challenge, I calibrate. It says pain doesn't define me, my response does. And that code must be enforced daily. Not once, not occasionally, but constantly, because life doesn't respect the passive. It responds to those who stay in the game, even after they've been knocked down. To enforce that code, you must build rituals that protect your center. You must find anchors, routines, mindsets, reminders that reconnect you with your strength when the world tries to strip it. Maybe it's your morning practice, your breathwork, your writing, your solitude. Whatever it is, make it sacred. Because resilience without recovery becomes exhaustion, and exhaustion masquerading as strength will eventually collapse. Resilience also means having the courage to ask for help, not because you are weak, but because you understand one truth. Strong people aren't solo, they are supported. They surround themselves with those who reflect their highest potential, not their lowest fear. And most importantly, resilience is a memory. It's remembering what you've survived, what you've overcome, what you thought would break you, and didn't. Too often we forget. We treat every new challenge as if it's the first, but it's not. You have a library of battles behind you, proof that you are more durable than you believe. So stop underestimating your capacity. Stop negotiating your endurance. Stop pretending you're fragile. You are not. You are designed to endure, to evolve, to expand through resistance. Confidence built without resilience is performance. But confidence built through resilience, that is substance, that is power, that is real. Let that be your edge. When others freeze, you flow. When others shatter, you stand. When others surrender, you stay. Because nothing is more dangerous than someone who refuses to stay broken, is to stay. Chapter 8. Social Mastery. Commanding presence. Confidence is internal, but presence is what others feel. It's the external echo of your internal state. You don't need to say a word for people to read your energy, measure your certainty, and decide, often instantly, whether to follow, listen, or forget you. Commanding presence isn't about being the loudest. It's about being the most aligned, the most centered, the most certain in who you are and what you stand for, even in silence. In every room you enter, there is an invisible negotiation happening. People are scanning for power, poise, and authenticity. They're looking for cues. Who here owns themselves? Who is apologizing for their existence? Who is leading the moment, and who is shrinking from it? Social mastery begins with understanding this. People don't respond to your words first. They respond to your state, your posture, your stillness, your eye contact, your pace. These are primal signals. They communicate safety, status, competence. They reveal whether you're comfortable in your own skin or performing a role you haven't earned. Confidence that's real doesn't try to dominate, it calibrates. It reads the room, but it doesn't betray itself for approval. It listens without shrinking. It speaks with purpose, not volume. It walks in with quiet certainty and lets that certainty do the work. This presence is not a gift, it's a discipline. It's crafted, refined, rehearsed, not in front of a mirror, but in moments where you choose integrity over impression, when you walk into a room without needing to prove, when you express an opinion that might not land, and you let it land anyway, when you hold your posture not as performance, but as principle. You don't build presence by chasing attention, you build it by commanding your space without apology. You don't need to overpower others to stand out. You need to stop overpowering yourself with doubt, with hesitation, with mental noise that tells you to shrink. Commanding presence is when your internal power becomes external experience, when people feel your clarity before you speak. That doesn't mean being perfect, it means being whole, because in a noisy world, the most magnetic force is someone who moves like they already know they belong. The mistake most people make in social situations is that they over-focus on what to say and under-focus on how they're being. Presence isn't about scripting the perfect line. It's about bringing a grounded, calibrated energy that makes people lean in before you even speak. Confidence is not about dominating space. It's about being immovable in it. People with commanding presence don't rush. They don't fidget. They don't speak to fill silence. They've trained their nervous system to be calm in high-stakes moments, and that calm becomes contagious. Others begin to mirror it, respect it, adjust to it, because presence is influence, and influence begins with self-control. Think of every room like a frequency. Some people enter and amplify chaos. Others stabilize it. Some people chase validation. Others radiate certainty. Your goal is to become the latter, not by pretending to be confident, but by practicing presence until it becomes your new normal. This requires intention. Practice slowing your movements. Breathe deeper before speaking. Drop your tone instead of raising it. Hold your eye contact one beat longer than feels comfortable. These micro-adjustments signal confidence at a primal level. They say, I am not a threat, and I am not threatened. I'm here, I belong, and I'm in command of myself. Commanding presence also means knowing when not to speak. Silence, used intentionally, is powerful. It creates space. It forces others to tune in, and it signals that you're not performing, you're processing, observing, deciding. That alone elevates your perceived authority. But presence isn't just external, it's internal ownership. It's what happens when your self-respect becomes visible, when you're not trying to impress, but express, when you stop negotiating your worth and start embodying it. This doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you no longer let doubt steer your expression. It means you trust your voice, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. And people trust those who trust themselves. Presence is not volume, it's clarity. It's not charisma, it's congruence. The more aligned you are inside, the more magnetic you become outside. So stop asking if you're saying the right thing. Start asking, am I being someone others want to follow? Presence is power, but it isn't posture, it's principle. It's not something you turn on for meetings, dates, interviews, or stages. It's something you live. Because if you only access presence when you need it, it will collapse the moment tension rises. But if it's built into how you carry yourself, how you walk, listen, respond, it becomes unshakable. You can't fake that. Not for long. People feel when you're posturing. They sense when you're trying too hard. They might not know why they don't trust you, but they'll feel it. That's because presence doesn't come from performance. It comes from alignment. When who you are, what you value, and how you behave all match, people notice. Social mastery isn't about manipulation. It's about clarity. It's about showing up so fully in your truth that others are forced to adjust to your energy. You don't need to overpower. You need to own. Own your role. Own your perspective. Own your silence. Own your message. This is the unspoken language of confidence. It tells the room, I'm not here to chase approval. I'm here to contribute. And ironically, the moment you stop trying to be impressive, you become undeniable. You also master presence by mastering boundaries. Not everyone earns your energy. Not every room deserves your full access. Social confidence isn't about being liked. It's about being respected. And respect is earned by how you carry your standards, not your smiles. Your energy teaches people how to engage with you. If you're frantic, unclear, apologetic, you invite interruption, dismissal, disconnection. But if you are focused, deliberate, rooted, people shift. They slow down. They listen closer because they feel your presence and it commands theirs. This is the difference between being seen and being felt. When you walk into a room with presence, you don't need to explain your value. You embody it. People don't just hear you. They sense something different, something whole, certain, still, And in a world full of noise and frantic energy, that stillness becomes unforgettable. Chapter 9. Strategic Self-Image. Your self-image is not a reflection, it's a blueprint. It determines what you pursue, what you tolerate, how you respond, and how high you're willing to rise. It is the mental ceiling you build for yourself, and whether you're aware of it or not, it's running your life. Most people build their self-image unconsciously, out of memories, past failures, other people's opinions, and moments they never fully processed. They walk around with a version of themselves that was shaped during survival, and they wonder why they feel stuck, why they play small, why they sabotage the very things they say they want. Here's the truth: you will never outperform your self-image. You can grind, hustle, and chase all you want, but if the identity in your mind says, "I'm not that person," you'll find a way to crash back down to where your belief system feels safe. This is why confidence isn't just action, it's alignment. Your actions must match the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. That's the strategic part, deliberately designing your self-image instead of letting it be shaped by default. Ask yourself, who is the confident version of me? How do they walk, speak, decide, lead, recover, prepare, risk? Study them, then become them. Not someday, now, because identity isn't fixed, it's fluid, and it's constructed through behavior, thought, and repetition. You become who you repeatedly act like. Start catching yourself when your self-talk drags you back into a smaller identity. When you say, "I'm just not that type of person," challenge it. Who told you that? When did you decide that? What proof do you really have? Most limits are identity issues in disguise, so reverse engineer the version of yourself who already owns their confidence. Step into their frame. Make decisions they would make. Show up to situations how they would show up. Speak how they would speak. This isn't pretending, it's rehearsal, and rehearsal becomes reality. Because the more you act like someone with power, clarity, and belief, the harder it is for your old self-image to survive. The strongest people you know didn't stumble into their self-image. They built it, layer by layer, through choice, through challenge, through ruthless consistency. They understood early that how they saw themselves wasn't just a personal matter, it was a performance blueprint. And if the blueprint was flawed, the outcomes would always fall short. Strategic self-image means you stop asking, "Who am I?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming, and what does that version of me demand today?" It's a shift from identity as memory to identity as vision. If your self-image is built on your past, it will lock you there. But if it's built on your future, it will pull you forward. This is why self-image must be managed like a brand, not to impress others, but to instruct yourself. Your self-image is your internal North Star. It tells you what to accept, what to reject, how to behave under pressure, how to recover after failure. Without it you drift. With it you lead, internally first, then externally. You reinforce your self-image every time you make a decision that aligns with your vision. When you speak with clarity, follow through on a promise, set a boundary, or refuse to abandon your standard, you are not just acting confidently. You are reinforcing the mental framework that you are someone who acts confidently. This is how self-respect becomes structural, not a feeling, but a set of rules. And the more consistently you follow those rules, the more natural confidence feels, not because you're pretending, but because your behavior finally matches your internal narrative. And yes, the old image will fight back. It will whisper doubts, offer comfort, try to reclaim control. But you don't argue with the old self, you outbehave it, you starve it with new evidence, with new movement, with new conversations, choices and standards. You make the old self-image irrelevant by building a new one that commands more from you and gives more to the world. Confidence is not just what you do, it's who you've decided you are. And the moment that decision becomes non-negotiable, so does your growth. At every level of growth, you will be forced to ask, does my current self-image support where I'm going, or is it sabotaging me from the inside out? Because self-image isn't static, it either evolves or erodes. It adapts to new standards or clings to old limitations, and if you don't upgrade it with intention, it will pull you back to a version of yourself that's easier to recognize, but harder to respect. You don't get to the next level of your life by behaving like the current version of you. You ascend by assuming a new identity, one that stretches you, tests you, reshapes you, not because the old version was wrong, but because it's no longer enough. Strategic self-image means you don't leave your identity to chance. You refine it like a blueprint. You reinforce it through language, posture, practice, and who you allow into your world. It's not ego, it's architecture. Because when your self-image is clear and elevated, your behavior organizes itself around it. You stop negotiating with doubt. You stop arguing with fear. You simply ask, does this align with who I am becoming? If it doesn't, you move on. That's clarity. That's power. That's what keeps the confident from fragmenting under pressure. And here's the part most people miss. Your self-image influences how others treat you. People read your energy, your certainty, your congruence. If you show up internally split, craving approval while hiding, they'll sense it. But if you walk in with ownership, with self-alignment, with that unspoken energy of I know who I am, the room adjusts to you. This isn't arrogance, it's authority, self-authored, self-enforced. From this moment forward, let your self-image become your leadership. Let it decide what you tolerate, how you speak, how you recover, how you rise. Let it be a mirror you are proud to reflect, and a standard you are willing to defend. Because when your self-image is engineered with precision, everything else becomes execution. Chapter 10. The Final Leap. Fearless doesn't mean you feel no fear. It means fear no longer controls the terms of your life. It means your decisions are no longer negotiated by doubt. Your movements are no longer dictated by anxiety. Your voice is no longer filtered through insecurity. Fear might still show up, but it doesn't get to lead. This is the final leap, not away from fear, but beyond it, beyond the idea that you need to eliminate every hesitation before you can fully live. You won't, and you don't. Fearless living isn't about erasing fear. It's about expanding your capacity to act anyway, so consistently, so boldly, that fear begins to respect you. Most people wait their entire lives for fear to leave before they begin. That moment never comes, so they shrink, they stall. They shape their choices around safety and call it wisdom. But what they're really doing is building a life that protects their comfort more than it honors their calling. You're not here for that. Fearless living begins with a declaration: I will no longer delay myself. Not for perfect timing, not for perfect preparation, not for guaranteed outcomes, because confidence isn't found in knowing, it's found in doing, in moving, in leaping. You learn who you are mid-air. You won't always feel ready, you won't always have agreement, but you will always have the power to decide. That's what most people forget. Confidence is a decision. It's not something you're given, it's something you give yourself, over and over, until it becomes who you are. This life, the one where you speak boldly, act quickly, stand fully, walk freely, it's not a fantasy. It's not reserved for the special or the lucky. It's for the one who finally says, no more delay, no more apology, no more shrinking. I lead now, not someday, now. Fear, when used correctly, becomes a compass, not a cage. It shows you where your growth lives. It highlights what matters. It reveals what you're attached to, what you're afraid of losing, where your identity feels threatened. That's not something to avoid. That's intelligence. It's a signal, if you're willing to listen. Fearless living doesn't mean charging at everything recklessly. It means choosing not to be ruled by the things that shrink you. It's living with open eyes, a steady heart, and a mind trained to translate fear into focus. You're not fearless because you're invulnerable. You're fearless because you trust your ability to handle anything. Rejection, failure, discomfort, uncertainty. That trust is earned, not through fantasy, but through repetition, through proving to yourself, I don't break here, I don't fold, I don't disappear when things get loud. And yes, fear will still speak, but now you speak louder, with your standards, with your action, with your consistency. Fear says, you're not ready. You respond, watch me. Fear says, you might fail. You respond, then I'll rise stronger. This is not delusion, it's dominance. Not over others, but over the voice that's tried to run your life from the shadows. The reason most people feel powerless is not because they lack opportunity. It's because they surrender control of their internal state. They wait for outside validation before they move. They wait for silence before they speak. They wait for perfect confidence before they begin. But the fearless do it differently. They validate themselves through motion. They earn silence through impact. They build confidence by behaving like someone who already believes. It's not about being fearless every moment. It's about committing to fearless action when it counts. And when you stack enough of those moments, when you've led yourself enough times through fear, you wake up one day no longer searching for courage. You've become it. This is it. No more waiting. No more rehearsing a future you refuse to claim. No more collecting information without applying it. This isn't about reading one more chapter, repeating one more mantra, setting one more goal. This is about execution, movement, forward motion. Now, you've seen the patterns, you've seen the lies, that confidence is rare, that you must earn it through perfection, that fear disqualifies you from boldness. You know better now. Confidence is built, rebuilt, reinforced, daily, through decisions, through resilience, through alignment with the highest, most unshakable version of yourself. That version, it's not in the distance, it's here, waiting for you to act in its name. You don't need anyone to crown you. You don't need a title, a platform, or applause. You need only one thing. A final decision to stop playing beneath your potential, to stop asking for permission to be powerful, to stop living as if fear is your leader instead of your companion, because here's what no one tells you. The fearless are not superhuman. They are simply done negotiating with fear. They are done living as a version of themselves that fits comfortably within others' expectations. They are done pretending that hesitation is wisdom. Fearless living is radical honesty with yourself, with your decisions, with the way you walk into every room, every day, every challenge. It's no longer about what you feel. It's about what you do in the presence of those feelings. So ask yourself, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now, what would the most powerful version of me do next? Then do it, without delay, without apology, without shrinking back into the shell of a self you've already outgrown. This is your moment, not because it's perfect, but because you're ready. Confidence is no longer a concept for you. It's a command, a way of life, a standard too high for excuses, too clear for confusion, too strong to be shaken. You don't wait to be fearless. You live like you already are, and from this point on, that's exactly what you do. Conclusion. This is your moment. Confidence is not something you chase. It's something you choose. Again and again, every day you wake up, you are given the same question: who will lead your life today, fear or power? This book wasn't about giving you hype. It was about handing you tools, perspectives, truths, the kind that don't fade with time, but grow stronger as you use them. You now know that confidence is not a gift. It is not inherited. It is not reserved for the loud, the perfect, or the lucky. It is built, layer by layer, in the thoughts you choose, the words you speak, the boundaries you set, the actions you take when no one's watching. It is forged in motion, not waiting, in decision, not delay. You've walked through illusion. You've rewritten internal scripts. You've learned to master fear, reframe failure, and show up as the version of yourself that no longer asks for permission to lead. But don't stop here. This is not the end of your journey. It's the ignition of your next chapter. Now it's your job to live this. Speak this. Move with this. Let your self-talk be sharp. Let your actions be bold. Let your presence be felt. Let your standard be non-negotiable. You are not the person who hesitates anymore. You are the one who moves. So go, lead your life with fearless conviction. Speak like you mean it. Stand like you own it. And build a legacy that only the truly confident can claim. This is your moment. Take it. If you found this content enriching and valuable, we would be deeply grateful if you could express your appreciation through liking and subscribing. Your support is incredibly meaningful and enables us to continue creating content that resonates with you. For those who think this is a great gift for yourself or for your loved ones, you can find the link in the description.